Kinkladze will try and beat his man, and suddenly space opens up. Still Kinkladze, inside the penalty area. This will be a fantastic goal. Oh, that's mesmeric. It's sublime, and it's typically Georgi Kinkladze.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
And Kinkladze, there's a buzz of excitement whenever he has it.
That was good tenacity shown in by Kinkladze.
I think Georgie was an unbelievable entertainer. I think I've never played with such a natural, gifted, talented player like him.
Demands the ball again, does Kinkladze. Tries to chip Southall. That is magnificent.
His style of football was probably something that we'd not really seen in English football before.
Kinkladze's looking for the return. Quinn's given it to him, and he's scored.
He's always going to be in City's folklore, like David Silveridge, Colin Bellis. He's up there, with the rest of them.
He had a wonderful left foot, didn't he? And you knew at any point he could go on and dominate a game. And
City have had some wonderful players over the years, but no one that could do things so differently and so well. And Georgie was that man at that time.
Goes inside, loves to beat people like Janino. He's all the way through. Kinkladze scores! It's 1-0 to Manchester City. An individual effort. And here he is on his way.
მეგობრებთან ერთად, ყველასთან ერთად, ვინც ეზოში თამაშობდა იმ დროს და ყველა თამაშობდა პრინციპს ეზო, მეტი გასართობი არ იყო მაგ წლებში ჩვენთვის. ფეხბურთი ყველა ძალიან გვიყვარდა და ყველასთან თითქმის რა. ჩემი კერპი იყო მარადონა და იყო და არის და იქნება. ჩვენ გერმანიაში იმიტომ წავედი და მე არგენტინაში, მაგ დროს 92-ში იყო ომი საქართველოში. გადაუთარგმნე გჯენილად. მე რო შემოთავაზება მქონდა არგენტინიდან, ვიცოდი რომ თუ შანსი მომეცემოდა ჩემი კუმირის ნახვის, არ დავფიქრებულ ვარ ეგრევე ეგ წავედი. ის ვარჯიშობდა, მე ვერა, იმიტომ რომ სუმაგას უყურებდი, მაგრამ მაშინ ვიყავი რა ქვია შოქში. I was just watching. He was training, I was watching.
Demands the ball again, does Kinkladze.
the first time most of us had caught a glimpse of Kinkladze really was the Wales game. And then here comes this guy, Kinkladze, this little guy jinking about, and displaying really precocious skills and chipping Neville Southall, which apparently Franny Lee saw that and said, right, we've got to get this guy.
Demands the ball again, does Kinkladze. Tries to chip Southall. That is magnificent.
I spoke to Jerome Anderson about it. I said, get me the video of it. It was the worst video you ever seen. It was crackling and everything like that, but you could see the guy was brilliant. And I sent Jimmy Frizzell down to watch him, and he came back. He said, he is some player. He said, if you got the orchestra, this guy could conduct it. And so we bought him for £1 million. And he was a very talented player.
Այն ბოლო მეორე კარდიფში რო დამთავრდა თამაში, იმის მერე დაგვიკავშირდა City. ძალიან კარგი და ძალიან მეგობრული, იმიტომ რომ მე რო ინგლისში ჩავედი 21 წლის ვიყავი რა, სხვა ქვეყანაში საერთოდ მაშინ ენას არ ვფლობდი, საერთოდ არ ვიცოდი ენა და ძალიან მხარში ამომიდგა მეც და ჩემ ოჯახსაც, რისთვისაც დიდი მადლობა მინდა გადაუხადო.
Georgie turned up and everybody could see straight away he was a different type of player. Player who was not used to having the Premier League at that time. You could see his first touch, his balance in the first training session was fantastic. So everybody got very quick excited about Georgie.
He is a threat from absolutely any position on the field.
The first days in training, you could see what he was all about. And you could just see how skillful he was, and he had a good attitude as well to training. I know he didn't do probably as much running as he should, but he didn't really need to.
I also understood that Georgia played in Germany with Saarbrücken in the second Bundesliga. I think we knew we get an international player.
ძალიან დიდი განსხვავება იყო. როგორც მოგეხსენებათ, აქ იყო მაგ დროს ომი და ინგლისში იყო ფეხბურთი. სხვა ცხოვრება იყო, რა თქმა უნდა. მაგრამ მე კიდევ ერთხელ ვიმეორებ, რომ ისეთ თბილად მიმიღო ამ ქალაქმა და ამ გულშემატკივარმა, რომ ეს ჩემი როგორ არ მენატრებოდა, ჩემი ქვეყანა მენატრებოდა, მაგრამ ეს ჩემი მეორე სახლივით.
Well, it was a very indifferent time, obviously a new manager coming into a football club, and looking at it now, senior pros obviously aware of it, thinking how's this going to go, how's it going to affect me, and that's normal. Alan Ball being there, seen it, done it, and certainly won everything as we know, so it was thinking how could we learn off him. And as you said, there's a signing called Georgian Kinkladze comes in the door.
It's only like when it was rumoured City was going to buy him, but then we took everything with a pinch of salt, because in them days we're going to buy every Tom, Dick and Harry. You know, talking with my mates, we thought even if we do get him, he's going to be rubbish anyway.
Georgian Kinkladze is tipped to be the next great player here once he's adapted to the English game.
How was he going to get on? And some great characters. Remember, sort of down the spine of the team. These are the personalities that Alan Ball had to impress. But they brought this flair in of Georgian Kinkladze, and we knew straight away he had some real talent.
So it was just a very surprised and lovely shock to the system when he did come and he turned the magic on.
The best. ძალიან საუკეთესო დახვედრა იყო და ის თამაშიც ფრედ ვითამაშე თუ არ ვწდები. ძალიან კარგი დებიუტი მქონდა. რა თქმა უნდა, ეხლა რომ ამ ხელა ქვეყანაში გადადიხარ ამ ასაკში, თან პრემიერ ლიგაში ჩემთვის უძლიერესი ჩემპიონატი იყო მსოფლიოში. თავიდან რაღაც დრო დამჭირდა. მაგრამ მე უკვე
He was a young lad in a foreign country. When he came over, he couldn't speak English. You know, he didn't have any friends or family around him, and everyone warmed to him. So I think he was repaying that debt after the first year.
გავართვით თავი ერთი სიტყვით. მაგრამ ეს ყველაფერი რაც თქვი რომ ამ ხალხის და დახმარებით და თანაგუნდელების დახმარებით.
Yeah, the season didn't start well. I think it was, it was a disastrous start, really.
And she turns in the area, scores!
Yeah, I hate that phrase, typical City, especially now, but it was typical City in those days.
პირადად ჩემთვის ძალიან რთულად გადავიტანე, იმიტომ რომ მე თბილისის დინამოდან რო ჩავედი City-ში, თითქმის აქ სეზონში ერთ თამაშს ვაგებდით. winning mentality-ით ჩავედი რა, იქ ერთი სიტყვით რო იტყვიან და ძალიან გამიჭირდა თავიდან. ჩუმა ტიროდი რომ არავის არ დავენახე.
Gio's come in, this outstanding player into a new team, country, couldn't speak the language, was homesick.
This is something of a surprise with Kinkladze coming on.
We've just signed this superstar. Where are we? We haven't won a game yet, and it's 12 in or something like that.
Still feeling his way, understandably, after his summer move into English football.
The first few months in the Premier League was difficult. I think the team was used to play a certain way of football. It was not so often, you could not see so often in the Premier League a player like Georgie. I think everybody needed a little bit time to settle down. Everybody needed a little bit time to understand each other.
He wasn't tracking back, so it was frustrating, but he did improve on that. It was just getting him used to the English game and the English style.
Kinkladze will take it inevitably. It's for Quinn. Roslau! Just taken away from him by Pemberton.
City played well, but they still haven't won this season. Goalless draw, but you've got a point.
Disappointing we didn't win today. We had it was a good performance, but we just didn't have that little bit that everybody needs in life, that little bit of luck.
ცოტა მოგებები რო დავიწყეთ, მერე ჩამოვიყვანე, წაგებების დროს არ ჩამოვიყვანე. დრო ამოვარჩიე, კაი დრო ამოვარჩიე.
Whatever the weather elsewhere in the country, the sun has been shining brightly today on Maine Road.
I think, if I remember rightly, he scored his first goal against Aston Villa.
ეს ძალიან კარგად მახსოვს ეს თამაშიც. არა მარტო რომ გოლი გავიტანე, იმიტომ ეს თამაში მოვიგეთ.
Kinkladze with those little delicate steps of his. Now this could be sensational if he can finish it.
Well, it was a great goal. I mean, probably not his finest, but it was a perfect one too. It was really well executed.
Kinkladze is looking for the return. Quinn's given it to him, and he scored!
Put him from the right-hand side and put one in, and then we seemed to sort of like kick off, and all the City fans go, wow, hang on a minute, this guy's amazing.
რაც ყველაზე საინტერესო იყო, რომ ბურთი გავიტანე, იმ დროს Maine Road-ზე გულშემატკივარი ახლოს იჯდა კარებთან. გოლი რო გავიტანე, გადავხდი ამ მაყურებელში და რო ჩამithრიეს, ერთი მერე ფეხბურთელები მეხმარებოდნენ, უკან მინდორზე დავებრუნები.
Little Georgian really paying off. With an excellent goal.
With that goal and with that sort of first goal for City, that the fans had taken him to their heart. The fact that he would run and jump into the crowd, they seemed reluctant to let him go. It was like they were greeting a new hero.
We loved it and the fans loved it, and that was the start of everything with Georgie.
Final whistle and a huge roar of applause from the Maine Road terraces, and they have seen their side confirm the good work that's been done over the last 3 games. The little man who cost £2 million from Dinamo Tbilisi has scored his first goal for them. They've ruined Brian Little's 42nd birthday, but they made it a great night of celebration at Maine Road. Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0.
So it did seem like a bond was forged with the City fans very early on, yeah.
They looked good as relegated after taking only 2 points from their first 11 games, but his signing of Georgian Kinkladze signalled a recovery that was beyond the dreams of the Maine Road faithful.
To play against a Middlesbrough side with Juninho, and he was the real deal. Georgie was trying to get to that. Many of us as well was trying to aspire, and you're looking across thinking, you're playing against a real talented, fantastic ability, great footballer, and to have that sort of praise said about Georgie was fantastic, really.
კი, მე როგორც აღნიშნე, მაგ დროს 90-იანებში ბევრი ლეგიონერი არ თამაშობდა პრემიერ ლიგაში. რამოდენიმე ჩამოვიდა 3-4 ფეხბურთელი, ვინც ინდივიდუალურად ძლიერი იყო.
Here's Kinkladze. He's got Ingram to the left, goes inside, loves to beat people like Juninho. He's all the way through. Kinkladze scores! It's 1-0 to Manchester City.
He was so difficult to take the ball off. He had a low centre of gravity, his balance was good, and he could receive on the half-turn, which we've seen now, many years later, how people have got better at it.
The things that he saw on the pitch, where he wanted to pass, and I think he was probably a little bit ahead of other players as well in terms of where he wanted them to be.
At that time, City hadn't seen anything like a player like Gio playing for us for a very long time. His ability to run at pace with the ball and take players on, it was like second to none. And in the Premier League at that time, there wasn't really many people like him.
Kinkladze wants it on his left foot, thinks about hitting from distance. Now his right foot. He went to place it.
His style of football, the way that he could just control the ball and move forward, defenders were sort of like just astounded by him.
He's one of the most talented players that I've played with. He's I used to laugh and joke with him, and he would drive you crackers at times. He's the only player I know that could nutmeg you in training with your legs closed. He was that clever and cheeky, and obviously technically fantastic.
The only way I can describe it, and he really had that Messi and Maradona style about him. He was short, his change of direction, you knew he wanted to go left, but you couldn't stop him.
Chilly afternoon at Maine Road, and a full house to see 18th place Manchester City take on the leaders Newcastle.
Just after Christmas, I think it was around about February, if I remember right, we're hovering above the relegation zone, playing Newcastle at home, Newcastle were going for the top. They were going for the title. Team of stars, brilliant team, brilliant to watch. And Kinkladze that day was he just ripped them to shreds. They couldn't live with him.
ეს თამაში ჩემ კარიერაში ერთ-ერთი საუკეთესო იყო. მართლა ძალიან მახსოვს ეს თამაში. მაგდროს ნიუკასლი ჩემი გადმოსახედიდან უფრო ლამაზ და მაგარ ფეხბურთს თამაშობდა ვიდრე მანჩესტერ იუნაიტედი. ჩემი როგორც მაგარი ინდივიდუალური თამაში, აგრეთვე კლუბმა გუნდმა ძალიან მაგრა ითამაშა და ერთი ქულა წავართვით ნიუკასლს. იუნაიტედს დავეხმარეთ მაგ შემთხვევაში. იმიტომ რომ ჩემპიონობაზე იბრძოდნენ.
And there's a moment he didn't score actually, but there was that chance where he sort of swayed left and right, and people just talk about balance. I never really appreciated the phrase I keep coming back to is a balletic grace. There was a grace to that balance that made us think football could be sort of an art form as well as a physical battle.
Kinkladze that day was just, to me, that was the best game I ever saw him play. Ended up drawing 3-3. I think Newcastle scored 5 minutes from the end or something like that. But Gio that day was just outstanding.
I think Georgie, he was then, when we changed our way of play, when we attacked more through the middle, I think Georgie was instrumental also for me personally, because he assisted me many goals. He was very, very good releasing the ball through the gaps at the right time. I think the special moment, I think for everyone connected to Manchester City, was probably the goal against Southampton. That was an unbelievable goal, and it was one of the best goals in the history of the Premier League.
The Southampton goal is one that will always, be cherished, I think. In a way, the commentary of that, I remember at one point, the commentator says something like,
Kinkladze will try and beat his man, and suddenly space opens up.
And that was what we were talking about before, really, that ability to anticipate where a space might be. It does suddenly open up. There's no way through it. Oh, yes, there is.
Kinkladze will try and beat his man, and suddenly space opens up. Still Kinkladze, inside the penalty area. This will be a fantastic goal. Oh, that's mesmeric. It's sublime, and it's typically Georgian Kinkladze.
ბატონო, პირველ რიგში მადლობა, რომ იმის გოლებში ადარეთ ჩემი გოლი. მაგრამ ეს გოლი როგორ ხდება, იცი თამაში წინასწარ ხო ვერაფერს ვერ გეგმავ. სიტუაციიდან თამაშიდან გამომდინარე მოხდა ეგრე, რომ ამოდენიმე ფეხბურთელი მოვატყუე და გავიტანე ეს ბურთი. და ჩემთვის კარიერაში ერთ-ერთი საუკეთესო გოლია ეს კი.
A footballing moment to treasure.
I just remember him picking the ball up, and you knew what he's got, and he's going left, right, the jink.
And you're thinking, pass it, Georgie, just pass it to somebody. It's gone past two.
And that is simply wonderful.
And he decides to put Dave Besson on his backside and then just chip it over him into the goal. It was just outstanding.
I was actually in one of the boxes from the build-up of him actually picking the ball up and going through all the defenders. To see it from above and watch it, from that angle, it was just absolutely breathtaking.
არა, უფრო დავაფიქსირე, ბურთს რომ მივიღებდი შემდეგ თამაში, უფრო ხმაურობდნენ ვიდრე მანამდე.
And that's the final action of a first half that will long be remembered because of one man who is receiving a standing ovation. Everyone is talking about the name Kinkladze, and the word fantastic is on many people's lips as well. City and Kinkladze 2, stunned Southampton 0.
I mean, I think that the relationship between City and Kinkladze, I think Kinkladze did recognise, what a very special place Maine Road was. In a funny way, that sort of understanding, that connection was sort of almost best displayed at an event that wasn't a football match. It was when Oasis played at Maine Road.
რა თქმა უნდა, მე ამითი იქ ცხოვრობდი და რა ხსენე, რომ ჩემი მეორე სახლი იყო, ამ ყველაფრით მე მართლა ვამაყობდი. რაც შეეხება უაზის გადაუთარგმნა ირაკლი და გეტყვი მე.
And it was just another thing for City to hang the hats on. You had Noel and Liam, outspoken, massive City fans, that just kept City on the map when we had nothing.
That connection between band and audience, and crucially it being in Maine Road, it was amazing. And I think that Kinkladze knew that about the club and the Gallaghers and their connection and that loyalty and that bond. I think he knew that.
Manchester City still in danger of dropping down to Division 1. A win today would go a long way towards making them safe. But they've not beaten United since 1989.
Derbis თამაში ყველა თამაში ძალიან რთული იყო პრემიერ ლიგაში, მაგრამ ეს განსაკუთრებული თამაში იყო ამ კლუბისთვის და გულშემატკივრებისთვის. ამ ორ კლუბს შორის ისტორია არის ძალიან დიდი. სამწუხაროდ წავაგეთ 3-2 ეგ თამაში.
Against Immel. And there is Eric Cantona again. Absolutely spot on. Quinn, it's 1-1. My goodness, what a story. Kamalashvili. Unless, of course, they're punished straight away here by Cole. They are punished. Amazing response from Manchester United. Bruce backs off. Rossler goes to goal. A sensational strike. Cantona's on the ball. For Giggs. Curls playing him onside. Ryan Giggs. Unbelievable. 4 games to go from the way you played today. Does that give you encouragement for the 4 major battles that lie ahead?
Yes, I mean, I can only ask them to give it their best. They've been involved in a very good game today. We've got a tough game on Monday. Ideal time straight after this. You've no time to get your breath. We'll go and give it our best again. That's all you can do, and that's all you can ask your players to do.
კი ბატონო, ვეთანხმები მართლაც საუკეთესო ვიყავით იმ დღეს, მაგრამ რას იზავ, კლასმა მაინც მოგვიგო, კლასი მაინც კლასია. პირველ რიგში დიდი მადლობა კიტკელს, ჩვენ კაპიტანს, რომ ამხელა გრანდიოზულ ფეხბურთელს შემადარა, მაგრამ მე მაინც City-ში დავრჩებოდი, იქ მირჩევნოდა თამაში.
Last game of the season, Liverpool at home. To that game thinking, please don't get relegated.
You're thinking, can you escape? You knew you're in it, you knew how tense it was. A Liverpool side who you probably think we've got a good chance here, although a really good Liverpool side.
And we knew we were in trouble, but we've all gone in confident that we could win it. The game kicked off, and before we knew it, we were 2-0 down.
Bizarrely, after half time, we end up 2-2.
We were buzzing, thinking, yeah, we can get a goal.
And then Alan Ball comes out and tells Stevie Lomas, I think it was, 5 minutes to go when we needed the win, to hold the ball in the corner flag.
I'm thinking, what are you doing, Steve? What are you doing? We're on top of the game, we can get a goal back here. What we didn't know at the time was apparently someone had told Alan Ball that we only needed a point.
There was, it probably wasn't his fault, there was a misunderstanding of what we needed to achieve from that game, to the extent that, let's waste time in the corner.
Now Quinn, it's just been substituted, comes legging it down the line, says, we need to win, get going, need to win, get another goal.
It was bizarre, and we couldn't get the winning goal. I mean, it's really disappointing that happened. Whether or not you can blame that on the actual result on the day, I don't know, but it certainly didn't help.
For us to be holding onto the ball in the corner. So, and then to go down on goal difference, and it should have been avoidable.
ერთადერთი თამაში არის ირაკლი უთხარი, რომ ხანდახან ხო უყურებ მომენტებს ჩვენ თამაშებს 90-იანებში სიტის შემადგენლობაში როცა ვთამაშობდი, მაგრამ ერთადერთი თამაშია, რომელსაც ვერ უყურებ და დღემდე მაწუხებს ეგ თამაში. ძალიან ცუდი დღე იყო ჩემთვის და ყველასთვის ალბათ, მაგრამ ფეხბურთია რას იზამ.
And it was devastation. I just remember standing in the tunnel afterwards, and there's a shot of all of us standing there, and it was just the saddest moment. And you knew full well what it had, what sort of effect it would be on the football club.
Every time I look back and see that result, I just think, well, what if we had have won it, you know, we'd have still been in the Premier League. Yeah, absolutely devastated.
Well, it was a major plus for the club. He's a quality player who has a wonderful relationship with the supporters. He brings people in through the turnstiles. You know, there are very few players around who will put a few thousand on the gate, and Gio's one of them. And it's a massive boost to everybody connected with the club that he's committed himself in the foreseeable future.
Kinkladze staying with us when we went down, it undoubtedly further cemented his reputation as a legend with the City fans. There's no question. Liverpool was supposed to have been sniffing around Barcelona, Real Madrid, you know, he could have played for any of those teams. You know, so it seemed amazing when it was a real joyous thing, you know, that like, okay, well, we've got a chance of coming straight back up again if George is still playing for us.
ასლების ვარიანტები მქონდა, ვერ მოვიტყუები კი, რამოდენიმე კლუბი იყო დაინტერესებული. ფეხბურთელის გადმოსახედიდან შეიძლება წავსულიყავი და უფრო სხვანაირად წასულიყო ჩემი კარიერა, მაგრამ ადამიანული თვალსაზრისით მე ჩაძირული გემიდან ვერ გადავხვდებოდი და ამ ხალხმა გულშემატკივარმა იმხელა სიყვარული და სითბო დამანახა, რომ ერთი წამითაც არ მიფიქრია სხვაგან წასვლა. ყოველ შემთხვევაში ვცდილობდი, რომ ძალიან გულით მივხმარებოდი.
Would Kinky leave after relegation? Yeah, I definitely thought he was just too good. So I was convinced he was going to leave. Yeah.
He was just a genuine nice guy, so I think he was repaying the respect City fans gave him. And for him to stay with us in the second division sort of thing, you think, what?
You know, he had unbelievable affection for the club and the fans. He probably didn't want to be seen as jumping ship too early, you know, and the club for their part probably could have sold him, but maybe felt at that time, and at that time rightly so, that Gio would be the bit of X factor that would get him straight back up again.
Kinky's the man, isn't he? I think he'll score a few today again.
I think he signed the contract because he'd got the affiliation with the club and the fans, and I think he took Man City to his heart, and I'm sure that's why he signed his contract.
So the Thursday morning I woke up, Jordi Armstrong, my reserve team manager, God bless him, pulled me and said that Alan Ball had been on the phone and would have fancied going up to Manchester City for talks. So
Alan Ball immediately went and signed Paul Dickov from Arsenal for £1 million. Made his debut on the bench at Stoke City.
Came on at half time and woke up the Sunday morning and Alan had been sacked. I thought, cheers, thanks for that.
Alan came to see me at my house and we had a chat about things. Sort of chewed the fat and talked things over, and in the end he said, well, I don't mind quitting, but I think it would be in the best interest of the club if I resign.
There was a bit of a managerial merry-go-round after the inevitable sacking of Alan Ball.
Steve Coppell came in, so we thought, you know, we've got a chance.
Steve Coppell, well, you know, we waited such a long time that we were pleased we finally got somebody. And Steve Coppell seems to be a reasonable choice. I think most of the fans are fairly happy with that. Just have to wait and see what his managerial capabilities are. You know, it's our place, which is the graveyard of managers, isn't it?
And of course that didn't work out. He stayed about a month.
I'd just like to say sorry to the supporters of Manchester City, and I can only say that the decision I have made is an honest one, made in the best interests of the club as well as myself.
რა თქმა უნდა, ამას თავისი მინუსები ქონდა, იმიტომ რომ ახალწნელი როცა ინიშნებოდა, ახალი ფეხბურთელები მოყვებდა და ეს თვითონ დრო დაჭირდათ, რომ უკვე ეს გუნდი ჩამოეყალიბებინა. ამიტომ ძალიან რთული იყო. პირადად ჩემზე ძალიან იმოქმედა.
Sides were changing left, right and centre every match, every week. I think some of the players didn't have a clue where they were, what they were doing.
One week I'll be starting up front with Uwe at the beginning with the next week it would be Kavalashvili, and I think Gio will probably suffer because of that as well.
And on he goes, still weaving his magic. Simons is up there now, it's back in, and there's the equaliser! Manchester City through Paul Dickov are back into this game.
Frank Clark came in, and Frank did okay when he first came in, and he had good ideas.
You know, he seemed like the kind of manager who would view someone like Kinkladze as a luxury that they couldn't afford. Now, you could say possibly in that league at that time he was right.
It was just trying to find that position for Georgie again, and would he be able to get that position for him and let Georgie play free?
I mean, surely operating a league lower, his talents would be, you know, even more obvious.
Division 1 was different to the Premier League, and he'd be targeted more.
Meanwhile, Kinkladze's second half injury is a long-term setback. He'll miss the next 5 matches.
Because it's a different kind of football. Perhaps, you know, as you drop down the leagues, a bit more of a physical league and a physical approach. It's probably, in some ways, harder for him to thrive down there.
It was so obvious. I mean, that was the way to play City. You could knock City off the stride by taking out Kinkladze, and you know they did do. A lot of teams did do that.
Plenty of bodies forward for Manchester City. Dickov on the edge of the area. Might come to Kinkladze into the area. He goes down. It's a penalty.
And we knew that Gio was the one that, if he was on it, would make us tick. So they would put 2 and 3 players around him to stop that happening.
I remember a lad from Stockport, Tom Bennett, he played for Stockport when they were in Division 1 as well, and he said that when they played City, they put 3 people around Georgie.
Better of Dix, and is looking to go through, and will he get a penalty? Yes, he does. Always a danger once he starts to run at people in the penalty area.
You know, the Oxford game, we remember those 2 goals, you know, and certainly it's a familiar sight, certainly the second of his goals.
And that was typical Georgie. He could do that, and he could do it regular. And he made it look easy.
After hitting the woodwork with a free kick, Gio Kinkladze got it absolutely right when he finally added City's second with a spectacular strike.
Over and over again, it seems that if you look back on, you know, years of sort of mundanity in City's football, really, it does seem like, you know, the bright moments tend to feature Kinkladze an awful lot.
Kinkladze virtually running the whole show, just saying, give me the ball.
Kinkladze timing the pass perfectly.
After the traumas of the first half of the season, the revival under Frank Clark means City have finished in a healthy 14th position, and the club received a massive boost when Gio Kinkladze agreed to sign a new 3-year contract.
It was incredible. You're thinking, wow, how are we keeping hold of this player? Someone is obviously doing something good. Or is it Gio just like playing for this fan base?
Georgie with Frank Clark, Frank could always try and play him, but it was difficult because it was, you know, the coaching and the tactics back then. You know, it's nearly 30 years ago now, isn't it? And it hadn't developed like it is nowadays.
Memories of that last season, well, the Swindon game. It was a free kick.
Georgie Kinkladze then setting himself up for this free kick. Oh, what a tremendous shot from Kinkladze. 1-0 City, 7 minutes gone. And Georgie Kinkladze with an absolute curler.
Around about 25 yards out, strides up, just puts it in the top corner and you think, that's unbelievable.
You know, if you win the game 6-0 in any league, you've got to try and use that as a platform to go on, and we should have done better. There's no doubt and there's no denying that.
Got the call on the mobile from Dennis Stewart, and he said that things are happening and we'd like you to take over till the end of the season. We don't know who's going to be there at the end of the season, so that's all we can offer you.
It's difficult for me to talk about Joe Rowe because clearly a nice man. I've met him a few times. Really nice man. He believed in the club. He really wanted to do a job.
Joe would come in from his Everton days, you know, and he had this stigma of being dogs of war.
Flitcroft did a good job for Manchester City. And I'm afraid this is going to be a booking for Barry Horn. And Kinkladze is fouled.
Joe Kinkladze is never a dog of war. He was never going to fit in that side.
Division 2 football certainly would not have suited him. And Joe Royal, he knew that as well.
That was the start of the downfall of Georgie leaving the club, yeah.
And you could see Georgie was down then. You could tell that he needed to go. And you know, at the end of the day, Joe made that decision, and it was the right one.
It didn't really seem to suggest that this was a natural home for Georgie anymore. I mean, that match against Stoke, Kinkladze's not been playing, he comes on as a sub for the last 20 minutes. I think that we sort of thought, is this the end?
I was with the team on the bench watching it, and we won the game convincingly.
To fill a couple of seasons, Bradbury has given us another twist.
But then you're hearing the reports coming through from the other teams that they were winning. And
well, I just wonder whether anybody has got a transistor radio nearby, just to inform him of one or two of the results that are going on around the country. But what a great shame it would have been for Manchester City, Al, if they do win this game and the other sides get the results that condemn City to Division 2.
Georgie had come on for me, so when you look back and reflect in such a big game, it was clearly a decision of Joe Rowe that he's going to move on without Georgie Kinkladze.
There was just no chance, unfortunately, that we went down, and that was reality now. We were going down to the 3rd tier. Not a nice memory at all.
It's all over. Joe Royal and Manchester City are relegated along with Stoke City. And Manchester City, twice league champions, FA Cup winners 4 times, League Cup winners twice, European Cup winners, are going down into Division 2.
And I think we just got into a rut that we literally just could not get out of. It was just typical City. We had to hit rock bottom before we could then rebuild.
That relegation was just so crushing and so disappointing. And grateful as we were to Georgie, nice to see him on the pitch, there was a feeling like, well, this is just wrong for a player like him to drop down another division.
The day that he left, it was sad. The football that we were playing and whereabouts we were, probably hand on heart, too good for us.
მაგრამ ჯონ როელმა უკვე მე ბოლოს უკვე მივდიოდი გუნდი და როცა მოვიდა ეს გუნდი ჩამოაყალიბა და ძალიან წარმატებით გამოვიდნენ მე და მე მინდა დავამატო კიდე პოლ დიკოვი რომელმაც ის ბოლო წუთზე რო არ გაეტანა ეს ბურთი City დღეს სადაც არიან იქ არ იქნებოდნენ დღეს იქ არ ვერ იქნებოდნენ.
When he went to Ajax, I thought that's a great move for him. A Dutch team, free, open football. Then all of a sudden you're thinking, well, why aren't you hearing much about Georgie?
Big club Ajax, and he hardly played, and he didn't set the world alight there.
It turns out that they were playing him on the left wing, and he wasn't a left winger.
The fans didn't take to him much because they had a galaxy of superstars. They brought up on superstars, so Gio was just a small fish in a big pond sort of thing.
I think there was a sense that, oh no, there's a danger of this talent being totally wasted, really.
არა, მე არ მეგონა მართლა რომ ჩამომაკითხავდნენ, მაგრამ ერთ დღესაც
I think the idea was probably after about 10 pints of beer in one of the pubs and that. So I actually wrote to Gio to say that we're going to come over because we worked out that we're going to watch a game on a Friday, invite him out in Amsterdam for the evening. When we started asking who wanted to go, we thought there was about half a dozen of us might go. Anyway, we filled the Euro crate, I think there's about a 67-seater.
We set off at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can imagine the quietness on that bus, as we were travelling due to the fact, that everybody had been drinking.
There was a detour going, so we weren't going to get there in time anyway for the game. So we just ended up having a night out. But then the day after, again, the plan was to go and watch them train.
We got there and some of them went for a trip round the ground and they brought Gio out.
ჩვენმა ადმინისტრატორმა გვითხრა რომ ჩამოსულები არიან სიტის გულშემატკივრები თამაშის აყურებლა და შემდეგ
one of our supporters said, "Oh, by the way, we're all meeting in the pub later. Do you want to come round?" like sort of thing.
რაღაც ბარში ან რესტორანში უნდა ყოფილიყო. კარგად 200 კაცი იყო ალბათ ჩამოსული.
And we were so surprised he actually turned up.
When people realised that it was here, it was
კითხა რომ მიხვალ თუ არ მიხვალ სანახავათო და მე რა თქმა უნდა
We're all there like, 40, 50-year-old summit, with all city shirts on in the middle of Amsterdam. A stranger walking past must have thought, what the hell's going on here?
And we took loads of pictures, he was autographs and he had a couple of pints with us, and that will forever be one of my best memories.
I used to go and just go and watch the training or whatever outside the stadium, the Amsterdam Arena. Every time I went, there was, quite a few City fans there visiting. I said to Gio must have been about 5 at this time now. I said, "Come on, we'll go for the day and I'll go and show you the Amsterdam Arena." We saw Georgie Kinkladze there, so I showed Gio. That's who you're named after, and I think that was the very first time he understood who he was.
So my name's Georgian, obviously. When being stood outside it's so vague now, they stood outside the training ground and he comes over and I'm like, my dad's like, "That's him," and I'm like, "Oh," oh, wow, that is mad.
შეიძლება არ ეგონათ სიტის გულშემატკივრებს რომ მივიდოდი, მაგრამ რა თქმა უნდა მივედი.
A lot of people forget that he came back into English football. He played for Derby for a while.
კი, რა თქმა უნდა, კი. ეგ ბედნიერება, კი.
Kinkladze has been saying to all who listen in the build-up to this game how much he still loves Manchester City.
Georgian Kinkladze, and he's playing for Derby and doesn't exactly set the world right. You think, this is petering out.
He was so talented, and I don't think the world's seen the best of his talent because he was at City at the wrong time, the wrong place sort of thing.
Oh, Kinkladze blocked.
There was a sense of an unfolding tragedy. That remains a sadness.
But I think if you probably look at the period he was at the club, with a couple of relegations in 3 seasons, you would probably go against that. But then you've got to remember the fantastic performances he's put in as well.
And then, like we always disappeared into the sunset.
რა თქმა უნდა, ძალიან მაგარი შეგრძნება და ძალიან ემოციები მიმუხტები მაგ დროს. მაგრამ ჩემი აზრით თამაშებს რო უყურებ ახალ სტადიონზე, Maine Road-ზე უფრო მაგარი ატმოსფერო იყო ვიდრე ეხლა. სამწუხაროდ ჩემი გადმოსახედი.
The City fans appreciate football and footballers and loyalty as well. And Georgie had all of that. He could have left it when we went down from the Premier League, and he didn't. And that showed, how loyal he was.
ჩემი აზრით გვარდიოლა იმ ხელამძღვანელია, ჩემი აზრით საუკეთესო მწვრთნელში შემყავს მე მგონი მაგეთ მწვრთნელთან პრობლემა არ მექნებოდა. ადგილს გამომინახავდა სათანადოს პოზიციას.
Could Gio play for Pep? Well, there's a good question.
But you've got KDB and you've got Bernardo Silva and you've got Mahrez and you've got Grealish and you've got Sterling and you've got Foden and and if you're a defender you think, I have no idea who's going to pop up where. This is part of this total football thing where everybody can switch about.
Mahrez gets it to him, kept in by KDB, cut across. A majestic team move.
Kinkladze would fit right into that. He absolutely would fit into that.
Pep would find somewhere for him to play. He would. Also, Pep would make him work a little bit harder as well.
He reminds me very much of Bernardo Silva, the way he picks the ball and runs at people. Very difficult to get the ball off.
Kinkladze. I just can't get to him. Wonderful run.
I know David Silva's probably the nearest comparison in recent times.
He will now, won't he? Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
Kinkladze.
Pep would probably play him at centre half and he'd still do well. It's full of world-class players and that's what Georgie was.
If he was in the team today, then he would probably be getting the same accolades of the likes of Kevin De Bruyne.
Forcing mistakes. This is Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne shot.
The edge of the Leicester penalty area. Oh, it's a marvellous solo goal.
He's always going to be in City's folklore, like David Silva is, Colin Bell is, Neil Young is. There's people who are always going to be in that folklore, and he's up there with, with the rest of them.
They hadn't had a real hero since Colin Bell, and he brought that back. And City have had some wonderful players over the years, but no one that could do things so differently and so well.
Clancy is looking for the return. Quinn's given it to him, and he scored.
He was certainly a cult hero when he was around, playing for this football club. He was loved. The supporters wanted to get hold of someone, love someone, and Georgie was the number one. He was a wonderful talent, a great player.
Georgie was an unbelievable entertainer, but also a very, very good player. He was probably the time ahead of the time we were in. The most gifted player I ever played with.
Ingram to the left, goes inside, loves to beat people like Janino. He's all the way through. Kinkladze scores! It's 1-0 to Manchester City.
I think his impact is, at the time, he gave us, the City fans, something to shout about. His loyalty. You can't underestimate his loyalty to the club. I think that'll be in his legacy. He could have gone and played for some of the best teams in the world, but he stayed with City.
He really did give us the strength to believe that we could be better, that we could aim for higher, but that there was a better standard of football, there was a better standard of player, there was a better standard or more ambitious footballing philosophy that a club as big as Man City, with a fan base like that, could aim for and indeed deserved.
Kinkladze will try and beat his man, and suddenly space opens up. Still Kinkladze inside the penalty area. This will be a fantastic goal. Oh, that's mesmeric. A footballing moment to treasure. One that in the minds of the 20,000 plus present at Maine Road will forever be etched in the memory. It's sublime. And it's typically Georgi Kinkladze.
მაგრამ ჩემი ნატვრა არის, რომ როცა ყველაფერი დალაგდება, მე ეს უკვე ვესაუბრე მანჩესტერში, სიტიში დირექტორად ველაპარაკერობ, თუ შესაძლებლობა იქნება, რომ აქ საქართველოში თბილისში გაკეთეს აკადემია მანჩესტერ სიტის, მაგის შესაძლებლობა თუ იქნება. იმიტომ ძალიან ნიჭიერი ბავშვები იბადებიან და პროსტ ხელი შეწყობა უნდა, საჭიროა. პირველ რიგში ამ პანდემიიდან გამომდინარე მთელ მსოფლიოში ისეთი ამბავი ხდება, რომ პირველ რიგში მინდა ჯანმრთელობა უსურვო და მე ამ გულშემატკივრებისგან და ამ ქალაქისგან მარტო სიყვარული და სითბო მახსოვს, რაც მთელი ცხოვრება თან გამყვება, ჩემ გულშია და თან გამყვება მთელი ცხოვრება. Yes, I am. I sure I am. City till I die.